everybody! I'm making a little video to help you with the lab. How can you compare the properties of matter? So let's get started. You have a Google Doc on Classroom to fill out for this lab. How can you compare the properties of matter? And the first thing it asks you to do is to write a hypothesis, observing which properties of materials will be most helpful in identifying an unknown material. And I gave you a little starter sentence. Observing, and then you have to put a property in there, will be most helpful in identifying an unknown material. Okay? Then the next step is that you need to find some things around the house that you are going to test. So I picked a couple of things from around the house. I have these 4 things that I'm going to test. Okay? You can pick anything you want around the house that you're going to test. And then on the chart in the doc, you're going to write down those 4 things that you picked. So I would write down eraser and quarter and paperclip and jelly bean. And then you have to choose 4 properties that you're going to test. 4 properties. And in your notebook, you should have a whole giant list of properties of matter. Here's my notebook with on the notes for this chapter. So solubility is a property that we could test. Transparency, reflectivity, hardness, all of these things are things. Magnetism are properties that we could test. Also, color and texture was mentioned in your book. You could test that also. So you want to pick 4 properties that you want to test. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different. And then you're going to fill the chart out about each object. So if my first object was my jelly bean, and one of my properties was color, I'm going to say it's orange and put that in the block. If one of the properties that I'm going to test is hardness, well, I can say that's pretty hard. I'm going to say it's hard. Okay. If one of the properties I was going to test was malleability, can it be changed in form? Well, not very easily. I can squish it, but it's not going to change. So I could say it's not malleable. Okay. If I was going to test solubility, I'd have to put it in water and see if it would dissolve in the water. Okay. So you would test all 4 of your objects and put that information on your chart. The last thing on your chart says mystery material. That's because I am going to show you a material and you're going to have to do some observations to see what that material is, what the properties of that material is. This is our mystery material, and I'm going to go through some different tests of properties, and if you happen to have those properties on your chart, you can fill in your chart to identify the properties of this material. Okay. The first thing I notice about this material is that it has a sort of a granular texture, like sand. Okay. Its color is white, so those are the 2 most obvious things about them. Okay. I would have to say it's not reflective. The light is really not bouncing off of it. It's not transparent. You can't see through it. I have a little kitchen magnet here, and I can test it and see if it's magnetic, and it really isn't because it's not sticking to my magnet. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of this and put it into a cup of water and see if it's soluble. Can it be dissolved in water? Okay, we're going to see if it is dissolving in water. Okay, it really seems to have pretty much dissolved in the water, disappeared into the water, become part of the water, equally distributed. So I would say that this mystery material is soluble. Okay. you can, you cannot really test for conductivity, at least not safely, so we're not going to use that one. But I think I went through most of the different kinds of properties that you could test this for. So then on your sheet, you're going to go back and fill in your chart for the mystery material. What properties does this mystery material have? And then some of the questions will ask you to make some conclusions about what you think that material, the mystery material, is. Don't worry about whether you guess right or not. That's not really what's important. What's important is what you observed about what properties it has. And also it asks you if you could test it for another property. What property would you test it for? And how do you think that would help you? So that gets you started anyway on the lab. Let me know if you have any more questions, and good luck.